My husband and I were a harmonious couple, always thinking of and supporting each other through life's ups and downs. But this belief shattered easily one day when I overheard a shocking statement from him.
A wife is a cash cow, ripe for milking.
I couldn't believe my ears. Fueled by betrayal, I, Jennifer, resolved to exact revenge and send him plummeting into his own hell. I'm Jennifer, a 46-year-old civil servant who has been working in the local government office for over 2 decades. My responsibilities are varied, including mentoring the younger staff. My husband, now Joshua, aged 50, recently celebrated a promotion to department head in a private company. Our story began about 20 years ago when Joshua visited the office for some paperwork, struggling with the procedures. I could not bear to see my husband struggling because he was unfamiliar with the application process. So I offered him a helping hand. A chance meeting at the supermarket sparked our relationship, eventually leading us to marriage after a few years of dating. Now that I think about it, perhaps from the moment we met, I liked to take care of my husband. Our marriage continued this pattern. The typical domestic disputes over laundry left lying around were no exception in our household. Joshua's habit of leaving his socks around, which I always ended up picking up and putting in the laundry basket, became the norm. I once asked him to do it himself, to which he replied,
I love how you take care of me, Jennifer. Thank you for letting me be pampered.
He had no intention of doing it himself at all, and when he said this, I had no say in the matter. When it came to cleaning, his excuse was,
I'm not good at it, so I'd rather you do it, Jennifer. Thanks for always keeping our home clean.
Despite sensing I was being manipulated, his constant gratitude made it hard to complain. My friends often pointed out,
You earn more, and he doesn't even lift a finger at home? That's unbelievable.
But we believed we had found our balance. No matter what others said, the intricacies of a marriage are known only to the couple involved. I thought we had a great relationship. However, one day, I was harshly awakened to the fact that this was a facade, a one-sided illusion I had created. It was December, the season of Christmas cheer. The local government offices were bustling as usual, and today, I was in support of the government office in the neighboring town. As the morning rush subsided, I thought about taking an early lunch break. That's when I saw them, a man in a familiar suit and a young woman casually strolled past me. Is that? No, it couldn't be, I thought, crouching down instinctively to avoid being noticed. To my shock, it was unmistakably my husband with an unfamiliar woman. Worse still, they were arm in arm, with my husband looking particularly pleased. Okay, stay calm, I told myself. Maybe it's just a look-alike, or a colleague. But colleagues don't usually walk arm in arm. Has something changed recently? No, that can't be right. My mind and heart raced, struggling to keep up with this unexpected sight. I wanted to believe in my husband, but something was clearly amiss. With a growing sense of unease, I knew I had to act. I rushed to the break room, quickly donning a spare Santa Claus costume. Will he recognize me? I hope this works, I pondered, my heart pounding. The festive season meant that the front desk staff were dressed as Santa, complete with beards and hats, a perfect disguise. My colleagues were busy with their tasks, none the wiser to my covert operation. As for my husband, he showed no sign of recognizing me. In fact, he and the woman began a conversation that was beyond belief.
I can finally divorce her and get married,
my husband said with a smile.
I'm so happy.
The woman beamed.
I've been using her as a cash cow, but that's about to change,
he added nonchalantly. I was dumbfounded. Divorce? Cash cow? Is he talking about me? We had never discussed divorce, and I certainly hadn't signed any divorce papers. Ever since his promotion to department head, he had frequently asked for money under the pretext of entertaining colleagues. Could it be that the money I gave him was for her? I wondered, struggling to process the revelation. I wanted to confront them immediately, but I needed to understand his true intentions. With great effort, I composed myself and approached them. "What can I do for you today?" I asked, disguising my voice.
We'd like to submit this, please.
My husband said, handing over a wrinkled divorce form. "Sure, I'll take care of this for you," I replied, my hands trembling as I pretended to process the form. Then, without missing a beat, they presented a marriage certificate.
Please handle this one too,
he requested, gazing affectionately at the woman.
"Let's make our future even happier,"
she said, their eyes locked in a joyful exchange. I was annoyed that they had started hooking up right in front of me, but I remained calm and pretended to accept the marriage certificate. My husband remained oblivious to my true identity, continuing his hurtful conversation with the woman.
What a cute wife I'm going to have. She's nothing like that old hag.
He chuckled.
"Don't compare me to an old lady," she playfully scolded.
Sorry.
He apologized with a grin. Feeling nauseated by their conversation, I watched them leave happily together. I spent the rest of my break in the break room, pondering the surreal turn of events. The afternoon work felt like a blur, overshadowed by the morning's revelations. Finally, the day ended, and I headed home, filled with a mix of emotions and unanswered questions. Although I yearned to escape to my parents' home for solace, I feared arousing suspicion and thus maintained my usual routine. Amidst this turmoil, I carried on with household chores, preparing meals and tidying up, embedding my emotions in each mundane task. As I placed Joshua's socks in the laundry basket, he thanked me as he always did, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. Does he not feel any guilt for what he's done today? I wondered, my thoughts swirling in a tempest of betrayal and confusion. Even the sound of Joshua's carefree humming from the bathroom threatened to unleash emotions I knew I mustn't harbor. That night, I lay awake, replaying the day's events at the town hall over in my mind, each detail a sharp jab to my heart. The next morning, I left home early, eager to erase Joshua's presence from my immediate reality. Lost in thought, I was jolted back to the present when suddenly someone grabbed my arm. It was her boss, David.
"Watch out! The light's red! You could have been hurt!"
he exclaimed. "I'm sorry," I mumbled with my mind elsewhere. David's concern deepened.
"What's wrong? You seemed off yesterday too. I got a report from the town hall saying you weren't yourself."
As my self-preservation crumbled under his caring gaze, the tears began to flow uncontrollably. I found myself confiding everything to David: the betrayal, the deceit, the realization that I had been nothing more than a financial resource to Joshua.
"I can't believe he would do such a thing to you."
David sympathized.
"It may not be my place, but from what you've told me, your husband's actions could very well be criminal. I know a lawyer, James, who's well versed in these matters. You should talk to him."
Listening to him, I felt as if my world had been turned upside down. The man I called husband was possibly a criminal. David's listening ear gave me the strength to view the situation with a newfound objectivity. I couldn't fully grasp the magnitude of Joshua's betrayal, but the undeniable fact of his infidelity remained. David arranged for me to meet with the lawyer, James, and accompanied me there after work the next day. I presented a crumpled divorce paper I never recalled signing. I shared the same painful story with James as I had with David.
"I hate to say this in front of you, but this is atrocious. And what he's done, it's undoubtedly forgery, a clear crime,"
James declared. The harsh reality hit me hard, but I knew I couldn't afford to wallow in self-pity. I discussed my next steps with James in detail, determined to see justice served. For the next week, I focused solely on gathering evidence of Joshua's infidelity. What I had thought would be a challenging task turned out to be surprisingly straightforward, as evidence of his betrayal accumulated rapidly. "I can't forgive him for deceiving me all this time," I resolved, anger and determination fueling my actions. Fully embracing my resolve, I began to meticulously plan my retaliation, careful not to arouse Joshua's suspicions. In this unfolding drama of domestic betrayal, I transformed from a victim to an architect of my own justice. The first thing I did was to seek counsel from my in-laws. Carrying all the evidence, I headed to their home, my heart heavy with the burden of betrayal. As I entered, the warmth of their house contrasted sharply with the coldness of my troubled heart.
Jennifer, what's wrong?
They asked with genuine concern in their eyes. I hesitated, but knew I had to reveal everything. Well, it's about Joshua. I began, my voice trembling slightly. I poured out the entire story of the past few days. The heart-wrenching discovery of Joshua's affair. My in-laws listened intently, their expressions shifting from disbelief to anger and then to sorrow. As I spoke, I learned something new. Joshua had a history of infidelity. His college days were particularly notorious, marked by frequent incidents of other women confronting him. Despite their efforts to discipline him, his parents admitted, some habits are hard to break. Yet, they had hoped marriage would change him. Barbara and Richard, Joshua's parents, were deeply apologetic.
Jennifer, we're so sorry. This isn't something that can be easily forgiven. But please know we're truly sorry.
Richard said, his voice filled with regret. It's not your fault, I replied, trying to hold back my tears.
Jennifer, we're so sorry,
Barbara repeated, her voice cracking with emotion. But there was more to the story, a part I hesitated to share. However, I knew I couldn't keep it hidden. It's not just the affair, I said, taking a deep breath. Joshua has also been involved in forging documents. Hearing this, my in-laws' faces fell, and for the first time, I saw Barbara cry. Witnessing their pain, my resolve to not forgive Joshua only grew stronger. I had a request for them, a plea that would bond us in a shared purpose. After sharing my request, we parted ways that day, and then came December 24th, Christmas Eve. Amidst the chilly air that hinted at snow, Joshua was unusually cheerful that morning.
Thanks for all your hard work. It's cold out, so take care,
he said, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. Thank you. Take care. Don't make me laugh. In a few hours, your cheerful face will turn pale, I thought bitterly as I pretended to leave for work. Although it was my day off, I left home under the guise of going to work. Today was the day Joshua and his mistress, Emily, were to visit the town hall again due to a mistake in their marriage registration. I had arranged with my boss, David, to use a separate room at the office. My lawyer, James, was also there, ready for what was to come. Everything was set. As I anxiously awaited their arrival, I overheard Joshua and Emily, blissfully unaware of the upcoming revelation.
Joshua, you're so forgetful,
Emily teased.
Well, it's fine. It gave us another day to be together,
Joshua replied with a laugh. They walked in, arm in arm, just like before, not suspecting the storm that was about to hit. Once they arrived, I quickly moved to the separate room. James, the lawyer, was to guide them there, where I, along with Barbara and Richard, waited. The plan I had asked of my in-laws was about to unfold, a plan for revenge. The day of reckoning has finally come, I thought to myself. The three of us, dressed as Santa Clauses to blend in with the Christmas spirit at the town hall, awaited the arrival of Joshua and Emily, guided by James. Unbeknownst to them, the Santas they saw were us.
Why are they all dressed as Santa? Even last time, we submitted our marriage registration to a Santa,
Joshua remarked, puzzled.
It's Christmas season, so we're using Santa for services.
James replied.
Makes sense for last time, but why now when it's just us?
Emily wondered, unaware of the significance of the moment. I didn't call them here for such trivial conversations. As if my silent plea had reached the attorney, he promptly ushered both parties to their seats, delving into the heart of the matter with a sense of urgency and importance.
The reason for your presence here today is,
he began, placing a divorce document in front of my husband.
This particular issue
He then informed us that there was a suspicion that the divorce papers had been forged. To unravel the truth, he pointedly asked my husband.
Is it correct that your wife filled this out?
My husband, unflinching in his demeanor, confidently replied.
Absolutely. We discussed divorce and she personally signed it. See, even the stamp is perfectly affixed.
And how long have you been involved with the lady next to you?
The attorney inquired, his tone laced with a hint of curiosity.
Why would I need to discuss that?
My husband retorted, visibly taken aback.
Oh, excuse me? See, even the stamp is perfectly affixed.
The attorney said, almost playfully.
Do you really think so?
My husband, suddenly intrigued, let his guard down and began to spill the beans about his affair.
Well, I met her around the time I married my wife. My wife is like an ATM, always giving money when asked. But honestly, you know what they say, younger women are where it's at, right? You get it, don't you, counselor?
As my husband rambled on, revealing more than necessary, a palpable tension filled the room. The attorney was momentarily speechless at his shocking admissions. It was then that I, who had been silent, stood up calmly.
Did you hear that, Mom and Dad?
I said, addressing my in-laws.
What are you talking about?
My husband, still clueless about the unfolding situation, asked.
What am I talking about? That should be my line.
I exclaimed.
This idiot son of ours.
My in-laws chimed in, their disappointment evident. We all removed our Santa hats and glasses, throwing them at my husband in a symbolic act of disapproval.
Jennifer, why are my parents here? You tricked me.
My husband exclaimed, realization finally dawning on him. His father, unable to contain his anger, slapped him fiercely.
How dare you?
He shouted. The impact was so strong that my husband toppled over, chair and all. The other woman, sensing her disadvantaged position, attempted to leave, but there was no way we would allow that.
Hold on a minute. Where do you think you're going? The real discussion is just starting,
I said, my voice firm. My mother-in-law grabbed her arm, forcing her back into her seat.
I think you know that we heard your entire conversation. Oh, and by the way, I was the one who received both your fake divorce and marriage papers.
No way, that's a lie.
My husband stammered in disbelief.
Why would I lie? Plus, we've gathered plenty of evidence of your infidelity. The lawyer here will help me file for alimony and proceed with the formal divorce. Happy Christmas to me,
I said sarcastically, presenting the divorce papers that I had already signed.
But before you think about alimony, you might want to consider prison time,
I added, watching as the color drained from his face.
Wait, you've got it all wrong. I was deceived by this woman.
He protested desperately, as if his words were the trigger. The other woman began to expose more of their sordid affair.
What are you talking about? You always said you had no love left for your wife, who's only good for her money.
You were the one who said to take the money and then leave.
He counted.
And where's the proof? I was only with you for the money. You, a man with no money, have no value at all.
She retorted scornfully. While I can't recall the exact expression on my face, it must have been enough to silence both my husband and his mistress.
And just so you know,
I added, turning to his mistress,
I'll let you in on something good. Not only can I demand alimony from my husband, but I can also claim it from you, his affair partner. Rest assured, I will make sure to claim it properly.
Defeated, she had no response. I, a woman in my late 50s, had finally reached a turning point in my tumultuous marriage. My ex-husband, Joshua, recently incarcerated, kept seeking meetings with me, a desperate attempt to mend what was already shattered. But I, resolute and emotionally drained, had firmly closed that chapter of my life. The very thought of caring for Joshua again seemed ludicrous to me now. Reflecting on the divorce settlement, I had intended to have Joshua pay the alimony before his imprisonment. However, it turned out he had squandered most of their finances on his affair with Emily, leaving his bank account almost barren. In an unexpected turn of events, Joshua's parents, Barbara and Richard, stepped in. They felt guilty about me and paid alimony on behalf of my ex-husband.
Jennifer, don't worry.
Barbara had reassured me during a heartfelt conversation.
This money is only temporary. We'll make sure Joshua repays every 1 cent.
I couldn't help but think about the grim future that awaited Joshua. The consequences of his choices were now unfolding, irrevocably changing the course of his life. Meanwhile, I embarked on a new chapter myself, and as for me, I sold the house I bought in my name when we got married and moved into a new apartment. I told my boss that I felt lonely when I was alone in my room.
I'm thinking of getting a dog.
My boss, David, ever the empathetic listener, encouraged my decision.
Getting a dog is a great idea, especially a Shiba Inu. They're adorable and so comforting. And remember, if you ever feel lonely, you can always reach out to me. I'm here to listen.
He offered with his usual kindness. Gazing at David's compassionate expression, I couldn't help but smile, pondering the possibility of sharing my life with someone like him in the future. His warmth and understanding shone through, offering a glimmer of hope in my journey of healing and self-discovery.